Hey everyone, Coach Simon here with Top Tennis Training, and here are the 5 golden rules of tennis. Now these aren't the rules in terms of a rule book. It's not about where to stand, where to receive, or how much time you can take between points, for example. These are the 5 golden rules that tennis players should be following if they want to become more consistent, better tennis players that ultimately win more matches. Golden rule number 1 is to track or watch the ball at all times. Now, how often have you heard your coach tell you, watch the ball? You've probably seen other students being yelled at, watch the ball. But how often do you actually step out onto the court and focus solely on tracking the ball? That means seeing the ball come off your opponent's strings, passing the net, bouncing on your side of the court, and then rising up to your racket, and finally seeing the blur of the ball coming off your racket, traveling back to your opponent. How often do you read the spin? How often do you actually focus on picking up quickly if the ball's coming to your forehand side or to your backhand side? Now, before we go any deeper into this lesson, if you're serious about improving all aspects of your game, then make sure you subscribe to the channel, but also turn on that notification bell so that YouTube will let you know whenever we release a new lesson. We all know we should be watching the ball, but often it's the first thing that actually gets neglected when we step out onto the tennis court. We think about where the opponent's standing, we think about their forehand, their backhand, their serve, we think about our strokes, and we simply neglect tracking that ball. Now, when you track the ball properly, you're giving your body the best possible chance to actually hit the ball clean. We want to be in the right position, we want to be set up to hit those powerful shots, we want to make sure that we're hitting the sweet spot, but that's impossible if we're not tracking the ball. So the next time you play the game, the first 5 or 10 minutes, all I want you to do is focus on seeing the ball come off your opponent's strings, bouncing on your side, and then coming off your racket. Yes, the contact point will be so quick, it happens in just a few milliseconds, that it's almost impossible to actually see the ball hitting your strings. But what we can do is focus on the ball rising up to our racket and then coming off. And one of the best ways to become a faster tennis player, to get in the right position and to actually create time, is making sure that you see the ball coming off your opponent's strings. Those first 3 or 4 feet, when the ball's traveling towards you, you'll be able to pick up if it's coming to your forehand side or to your backhand side. You might not be able to read the depth, so how deep the ball's coming or how short the ball's coming, but you'll be able to read the direction, and that will allow you to then have that unit turn and start moving to the ball in the right way. You'll be amazed at how quickly you start to feel much better if you're tracking that ball properly. Golden rule number 2 is making sure that we're breathing when we're playing tennis. A cardinal sin is holding our breath when we make contact, or holding our breath throughout the entire point. By holding your breath, you'll get tight, you'll get tired much quicker, and you'll really struggle in those long points, because competing in a long point when you're holding your breath is like trying to play tennis under the water. So making sure that we're inhaling when we're preparing and then exhaling while we make contact is one of the best ways for you to feel much better about your game, but also extend your energy levels throughout the course of a match or the course of a tournament. If I'm constantly holding my breath, I will get tired much quicker than if I'm focusing on inhaling and exhaling. Remember, if we're holding our breath when we make contact, we're going to be tight. Our body is going to be tight, and this will translate into worse shots. I won't be hitting the ball well, I won't be hitting with maximum power, with maximum spin. But if I'm focusing on my exhale, so making sure that I start the exhale prior to contact, this will help my body stay relaxed. This will help me have more energy throughout the course of a point and throughout the course of a match. So once again, focus on that inhale when you're preparing and the exhale when you make contact. Golden rule number 3 is consistency wins you tennis matches. Now, it doesn't matter how powerful your forehand is. It doesn't matter how fast your serve is if you're not getting the ball in consistently. It's much better to be a player who is hitting with 30 or 40 miles an hour less, but making sure that you make it 9 out of 10 times, than the player who's making it 3 out of 10 times, but is hitting the ball much harder. We can all step out on the court and start going for more power, but can we make that ball consistently when we're going for more power? That is the real question. And if you can't, there is no reason to carry on going for that power. Drop the power down and start being more consistent. Start thinking about playing with the margins and start thinking about how can I actually make more shots and win this tennis match. Think about the players that you play against. If you're playing someone who's hot and cold, so they have a really good point followed by a rubbish point, followed by another good point, followed by 3 rubbish points, you know that if you're consistent, you will beat them. You know that if you just simply get the ball back in when they do go for those power shots, eventually they'll break down. And you don't want to be that player who anyone plays, they know that if they make 2 or 3 balls in a row, you break down. You want to be the player who other players know that whenever they play you, it's going to be a real battle. You're not going to give them anything free. There's no cheap points being given when you step out onto the court. Don't feel like you have to be a hero when you come out on the court and play your matches. Don't feel like you have to go for powerful shots. Don't feel like you have to go for full power on your serve just to make yourself look like a better player. A better player is someone who gets the ball in consistently and wins matches. Not the player who hits the ball harder and may look good to someone who doesn't know much about the game. So remember, consistency will win you tennis matches. If you're more consistent than your opponent, you will win. If they make 5 balls and you make 6 balls, you win that point. And that goes throughout the entire match. If you want more help with a particular stroke, let's say it's your forehand, let's say it's your backhand or your serve, we have a free guide on each stroke, and I'll leave the link beneath this video. All you have to do is click on that link, that will take you to our website. Simply enter your email address and we'll send you those free guides right away. Golden rule number 4 is get rid of the obstacles on the tennis court. So the first obstacle that we face is of course the net. If we hit the ball really hard, if we hit the ball really flat and really low, we are going to make a lot of errors into the net, and that goes back to golden rule number 3. We are not going to be consistent by playing that style of play. The second obstacle is of course getting the ball to drop before the lines, so eliminating the lines. So in order to eliminate both the net and the lines, the simplest way is to make sure that we have good net clearance. So if we think about Nadal, he plays with 2 or even 3 net heights. But then we have that spin as well that will help us to make sure that the ball dips before the lines. So net clearance along with spin will eliminate both the net and the lines. Now in order to produce good margin over the net and make sure that the ball dips before the lines, we have to mainly use that low to high swing path on our strokes. And that means that the racket head is below the ball level prior to contact, and as we make contact we're brushing up the back of the ball. The same is true on that backhand, two-handed and the one-handed. Make sure we're getting under the ball level, we're brushing up, and we're making sure that we lift that ball to eliminate that net. Golden rule number 5 is play the percentages. This means when we're on the baseline rallying, we know where we're aiming, which is the higher percentage shot. Now, someone who plays a lot of down the line shots, you'll know that if you slightly miss-hit it, if you hit it slightly late, that ball will travel into the tram lines or even wider. It's much harder to aim down the line consistently, especially when you're trying to change direction. So if your opponent has hit his backhand cross court to your backhand and now you go down the line, it's a very hard shot to time. So the percentages on the baseline is cross court. Now there are 3 main benefits that we have when we go cross court. Number 1, the net is the lowest in the middle, so we're playing over the lowest part of the net. Number 2, we have much more space to hit into when we go cross court. If I hit the ball slightly late, the ball still ends up in the middle of the court instead of in the tram lines. And number 3, when we go cross, we have less distance to then recover for our next shot. Now when we have a short ball and we want to approach the net, it will change. If we go cross court, we're exposing ourselves with the down the line pass. Now. And that's why it's good to mainly approach down the line. Because when we go down the line, we're already on the right side of the court in order to cover that down the line pass. So on the baseline, we're playing around 80% of our shots cross court, and when we have the short ball to approach with, we're playing mainly down the line. If you follow these 2 rules when you're building points, you'll become much more consistent right away. So there you have it, the 5 golden rules of tennis. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Now if you have enjoyed it, make sure you smash that like button, subscribe to the channel of course, and turn on the notification bell. If there are any lessons you'd like to see from us in the near future, leave a comment down below. Signing off, Simon from TTT, all the best and see you soon.